Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life.
Hats.
Brendo, I'm ready to go.
You look like you got your arms out like you're flying. Is that a stretch?
I believe I can fly. No, sorry, that is a stretch.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. Should we talk about the wine just quickly?
I think we probably should.
Yeah, so this is a wine that was gifted to us at Marundai Bush Bash by the one and only Bodog.
Yeah, our first and only troll.
Yeah, and you know what?
He's not.
While on Bodog, I expected him to be 100% twat, and he's only about 70%. So that was a pleasant surprise.
There you go. Thank you for the wine. It's lovely. We also have a couple of guests who've got a couple of beers. So first of all, guys, tell us what beers you're drinking, and then introduce yourself if you don't mind.
I'm drinking.
Sure, I guess I go first because. Yeah. Oh no, you're going first.
Yeah.
Okay, you go.
Beat you to it. I've got a Stone and Wood classic Pacific Ale, delicious. And my name's Dylan Murray. And I am 1/3 of the team that's putting on Bitcoin Alive, a Bitcoin only conference in Sydney in April.
Solid. And what about our next guest?
And I come in with the fancy beer, which is the Mountain Culture Tucker Munchies, which is a New England IPA with emu apples. I guess that's what Tucker Munchies are. Emu apples.
Wow, I don't know what any of those words are. Is that from Urala by any chance?
No, it's a local beer from the Blue Mountains.
No, hold the glass up for me.
So was it what?
For a second.
Okay.
You pour it into a glass? Look at that.
Oh, it's a cloudy number.
That looks like orange juice.
That looks nice.
That's what they all look like these days.
It's super tasty.
Is it really?
But yeah, my name's Chris.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I forgot my name for a second. I had to check the bottom left corner of the call. But yeah, my name's Chris. I'm the other third, the one that doesn't do the math of Bitcoin Alive, amongst many other projects and startups that I'm involved with. But this is the one that's currently active and present, and probably what's going to dominate a lot of the conversation today, I imagine.
Yes.
Can you are you able to tell us who the third is, or that we didn't know and didn't invite and just clearly apologize to now? Who are we?
Yeah. That would be my partner, Jess. She is a professional freelance event manager. Nice. She's got more than a decade of experience, and she actually was the event manager for the venue that we are hosting the conference at for 4 years. So she's incredibly talented at her job. But, you know, she is a Bitcoiner. She's had Bitcoin for a long time, but she's not like us, you know. She doesn't care about Bitcoin at the same level as us. So she's not the type to be joining podcasts and rabbiting on about Bitcoin for hours. But she's you know, without her,
I think it's called having a life.
Yeah, something like that.
I've heard of those people.
Yeah,
I remember once being one.
Yeah, those people up on the surface world.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Jess. We appreciate your efforts. Sorry guys for not knowing that. Where are we going to start? So
why?
Why what? Why are we doing this in the call?
No. Why a Bitcoin conference when you've got meetups and bush bashes and all that kind of stuff? What's the motivation there for you guys to go, rightio, let's actually do a proper Bitcoin only conference?
Well, everyone you speak to at these meetings, meetups, I've never been to a bush bash, but I will be going to the one in March, that's for sure. But everyone you speak to at the meetups, they're always mentioning, you know, I wish there was a Bitcoin conference here instead of all these shitcoin conferences. And you know, we always get exposed to these massive events over in Miami and Amsterdam and LA and all over the world, and we kind of see them through this like lens of Twitter, and it's like, wow, look how fun that is. And we Aussies have to travel very far and spend lots of money to get over there. And we, at the same time, we see all these like, you know, crypto conferences and blockchain events, and Web3 stuff happening in Australia, but there's no Bitcoin conference here. But there is a massive Bitcoin scene in Australia. We're very, dispersed and spread out, but we've got amazing Bitcoin talent here. And I think everyone agrees that it would be great to have everyone come together and celebrate that.
Yep.
Let's go. I've mentioned that at the Bush Bash. We've been to a couple of, three now. The Murrurundi ones, the New South Wales ones. They're great, but they're obviously much smaller events. So, but I think there's also an element of like a bit of imposter syndrome in the room, because people feel that they're at maybe a smaller event and you see these bigger things happening elsewhere. And we're kind of looking to these so-called celebrities or big names in the Bitcoin world, when actually I think they're probably sitting in the room, and just to have a place for them to put forward their ideas in Australia, I think it's a great idea. So, so what are we? So first of all, let's do time scale, then do size, and then do who you expect to attend or who you hope to attend.
In that order.
Yeah.
I've already forgotten the order, to be honest.
So I think so. We'll go. What do we go for first? Time scale. When are we talking, guys? What have you've set your date?
Yeah, so we went public with the date about 2.5 weeks ago. So it's happening April 15th, 2023. So it's not that long away. Roughly, I guess 4 months to the date. It's the 15th today. Yeah. Oh, wow. So yeah, it's coming quick.
No pressure.
But yeah, that's the date. We kind of had a look at the global Bitcoin sort of calendar of events, and we tried to spot a gap where we thought that we could slot in, and kind of April stuck out. Still got reasonably good weather in Sydney. It's just after Easter. There's no other kind of big global Bitcoin events happening. There's sort of Bitcoin Miami in May, so that gives us a little bit of a buffer there. The idea was, I guess, we hope that this event could slot into that global circuit of Bitcoin events. So when people think, hey, what's happening around the world? They think of like the ones Dylan mentioned earlier, but then also Bitcoin Alive for the oceanic region, because we don't really have any representation. So yeah, that's kind of how we got to the date.
Venue, that's confirmed now?
Yep. So the Roundhouse at UNSW, the University of New South Wales in Kensington in Sydney. So that's about 15 minutes by public transport to the CBD. It's very close to Coogee Beach. You could walk there in under an hour if you want, or 5-minute car drive. So the venue itself is a world-class conference and concert venue. So it's hosted massive acts over the years. It's just had I think $30 million renovation over the last few years. So it's all brand new, amazing AV setup, top of the line facilities. It's a great venue. So it has a capacity of about 2,500 people in a concert setting. So that's shoulder to shoulder moshing to a band or something. But in terms of conference setting, we can put 900 seats in the main stage. We can sell more tickets than that. Maybe we could go up to 12 or 1,500 tickets if there's demand for that. It'd be quite tight, but I think if we get to that level, we'll be very happy with ourselves.
Okay, and single room, or are there breakout rooms available for other smaller sessions, or what's the thought there?
Yeah, so we'll have
the main stage. Oh, you go, Dylan.
No, you go, Chris.
Okay, I think there's a little bit of a delay, so we're running into each other. But yeah, the main stage will sit 900 seats, and that's on the bottom floor. As the name suggests, it's a circular building. So you got your main stage down the bottom. You've also got an upstairs kind of VIP balcony type situation where about 100 or so people could kind of sit around there and get like a top-down view of the main stage. It's quite nice up there, actually. I've been there for many concerts. And
can we be there? Can we be there?
You're not going to be top tier.
We can print some like fake VIP tickets for you guys, and we can
I can
smuggle you in.
Give him a medal. Give him a medal. We'll be happy. Yeah, sorry. And so you got that, and that looks down over the main stage, and then is it going to...
exactly. And then there will be breakout rooms, to your point earlier.
Yeah.
So that we're thinking one, possibly two breakout rooms that can each fit around about, I think, 100 to 200 people.
Yeah, cool.
So the kind of thinking behind that is we'll have a lot of the main kind of acts and headline speakers on the main stage, and we're trying to kind of go down the more group type discussion route for as many of those as possible. So we can, because it's only a single day event, and we've only got 7 or 8 hours of everyone in the conference, which is still a lot of time. But, you know, when you turn things around, at the end of the day, you could probably fit 7 to 8 different sessions on that main stage throughout the day, ranging from 25, 30 minutes to 45 minutes or something like that. And so better bang for buck is to have things like panels, debates, fireside chats, where there's multiple people on the stage, as opposed to just like singular keynote presentations. Of course, if we have something major headline act that warrants the stage to themselves, then of course we'll accommodate for that. But the plan is to try to have more high level discussions on that main stage, and then use the breakout room for more of those technical discussions or presentation type things. So someone might do like how to set up a cold card or something, or how to plan for taxation, where it's like a very controlled presentation where they can go through their slides. Whereas on the main stage, we might have a more philosophical type panel discussion about where should regulation go, for instance, as opposed to here's what's currently happening with taxation or whatever. So that's kind of the content plan for the day, is the main stage and then the 2 breakout rooms, which will focus more specifically on workshop type delivery presentations.
Got you. And in terms of, I mean, we're maybe a little bit early just now, but in terms of speakers, who are you looking to attract, or who are you hoping to attract to attend?
They don't want to tell us that yet.
No, I know, but like, is it like what I mean is it is the intention to be like, you know, 80-90% Aussies giving an Australian slant on a Bitcoin conference, or are you trying to bring people internationally, or what are your plans? Do you have any?
Yeah, it's going to be.
Are you happy to share? Is what I mean.
I hope they got.
It's just the 4 of us.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the beginning of the conference.
Chris and I all day just chatting. No, we do have a really solid lineup of mainly Aussie speakers at the moment. Like I said, we've got amazing, Bitcoiners here in Australia, and we should be really proud of that. So we've got quite a few lined up. Probably, we're getting to the point we've got like, wow, we've got so much content, so many speakers. How do we fit them in? And that goes into the separate rooms. Also, we're talking to a number of internationals. Obviously, Australia's a far, way away from everywhere. So we can't expect everyone internationally to come in for this first one, but there will be a few international speakers that we can add into the mix. But yeah, we can't exactly tell you who right now. But over the coming weeks, we'll be announcing the speakers.
Well, it'd be tricky too to balance, wouldn't it? Because you guys want bums on seats. So wouldn't you want to actually announce that at some point fairly quickly to actually sell tickets as well? You know what I mean? So if let's say, Sailor Buddy rocks up, or Mallas or something, they're going to sell tickets.
Absolutely. But you're going to want to drip feed them, right? You would want to drip feed out speakers, or I don't know. Like I've never run a conference. Like, is that what you do?
Yeah, I mean, we've never run a conference either. Well, I mean, I've run like smaller meetups and smaller things, but never like a high scale conference like this, where it's the pressure's on. There's a lot to do. It's certainly not easy. And I guess this is why we've not had a Bitcoin conference in Australia, is because it takes a lot of risk, it takes a lot of work, and there's many unknowns, and then there's just a hell of a lot of mountain to climb to get there. But in saying that, I'm personally super confident that we're going to be able to deliver something absolutely awesome. Ultimately, we want to put this on not just for ourselves, but for all of the other Bitcoiners out there in Australia and around the world that want to come to this and experience something unique in Australia. yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking. Like, yeah, we're working through all these problems. Like, how do we announce the speakers? Do we, because we do have, I think, about 20 or so speakers locked in, of which most of those are Australian. We're hoping to probably get a few more, but we're getting to the point now where we've got a pretty good core group of really high quality speakers. And we're just trying to sprinkle in a few of those internationals, like you said, to be a bit more of a draw card, a different kind of perspective outside of that Australian landscape. But we're very much focusing on highlighting all of the great Bitcoiners from the land down under, of course. But yeah, you'll start to see some announcements, I think, over the next week and a half. We're going to start drip feeding them. I think that's our method. Maybe do one every couple of days or a couple of weeks until we've kind of exhausted everyone. And then that'll also give us a bit of time to quickly continue filling that list of speakers and hopefully getting some of those names. Like, we'd love Mallers or Saylor to come along, and they're certainly on our internal wish list. But yeah, like Dylan said, it's really hard to get some of these people to commit because it's a short turnaround. They might already be booked. They might find the travel too far, the expenses a lot. Perhaps not for Saylor, but for some of these other international speakers, they're coming like 24 hours and they've got families and, they're Bitcoiners and they don't want to sell their stack. And so there's all these other problems that make getting the internationals a lot harder. But that is partially the reason why Dylan and I and Jess went to Pacific Bitcoin recently. And I also went to Adopting Bitcoin in El Salvador, was to speak to some of these people in the flesh, show that we're real people, tell them what we're trying to achieve with Bitcoin Alive and get them excited in coming over. So we've certainly got, a handful or two handfuls of maybes, yeses, and in somewhere in betweens. And hopefully as things start to roll out, a bit of FOMO kicks in, people start going, okay, this thing is actually real. These guys are looking to actually deliver this thing. Cause I guess a lot of people are like, is this real? Are they going to actually be able to do it? And so hopefully, the proof of work shines through. But yeah, we're definitely looking to have some cool international names, but we can't announce anything just yet, unfortunately.
That's all good. Go on.
I was gonna say, maybe we need to send pictures of Coogee Beach and nice areas and tag all these guys.
Well, I have seen somebody, who was it that's out there offering if they get the free surfing lessons, if they come out, you'll get them in the water, and you can do all that. Because I noticed because I'm from Edinburgh originally, so and I noticed the conference that they had over there recently, and there was a little bit of, it was the first time they'd done it, but they did manage to drag people in, and the crowd wasn't massive, but it was still big. And I think the event itself went pretty well. But it's just, I guess a couple of years back, it was like, for a Bitcoin conference, there was basically Miami, and then all of a sudden, there's success and people want to replicate that success. So you are having to compete against the other places. There's a question. Do you feel like you're competing against the other conferences, or do you feel like you've gone to them and it's like everything else in Bitcoin, you ask for help and people are happy to help?
Well, definitely everybody who we've spoken to has been super supportive and has offered their help to us, and we're so appreciative of that. It's amazing. In terms of competition, I think it's kind of like the geographical position we're in Australia is like this massive moat or like barrier to entry. Where maybe if you were in Europe, there might be a lot of competition, Prague, Amsterdam, or whatever, and in the States, you've got a number of events as well. But if you look at the global map, there's almost no large scale Bitcoin conferences in the Southern Hemisphere, or even in Oceania, Southeast Asia, this whole kind of region of the world that we're in. So why not? We deserve one, and we're going to put one on.
When first and foremost, you want to go to one, right? So if you want to go to one, why not just put it on yourself?
This is exactly the thinking behind this event. Is I'm kind of, as much as I love traveling and going to experience Bitcoin conferences overseas, it is tiresome and expensive. And so I want something in Australia. Like Dylan said, we deserve it, and it currently doesn't exist. And that seems like an opportunity to put one on. That's typically how I tend to start pretty much all of my startups. Is I have a problem that I can't solve through other businesses or the free market. And so I go and solve that problem. And it turns out I'm not that unique, and other people also share that problem. So it eventuates in a business. And so that's what Bitcoin Alive is. I want to go to a Bitcoin conference. I know many others in Australia also want to go to a Bitcoin conference. So let's put it on. And it kind of just feels like Dylan, Jess, and I are just sort of spearheading it, but we've got this big crowd behind us, cheering us on, who want to be able to help in whatever way possible. And like Dylan said, we're super thankful for that support already. In the first 2 weeks of launching this thing, people have been coming out of all sorts of places. And this is the thinking behind it, is like, there's so much cool shit happening in Bitcoin in Australia, but it's happening in Perth, it's happening in Adelaide, it's happening in Brisbane, it's happening in Melbourne, in Sydney, all over the place. And no one's really connecting those dots and saying, well, let's combine our energy and really compound all of our efforts. So we're hoping Bitcoin Alive can be that kind of marker, that physical marker that really inspires everyone, brings the community together, creates synergies across the board, and everyone just has a fantastic time.
Yeah, and I'll also say that in the States and Europe, Bitcoin, as opposed to crypto, does get its own recognition or airtime in the public consciousness. But if you take a look around what's going on in Australia, if you are a complete newbie and you want to learn about what this whole crypto thing is, you are only exposed to crypto, Web3, blockchain conferences. There's nothing out there, and there's nothing in the public conversation that is accurately talking about why Bitcoin is different and should be considered in its own category of one. So that's, it's not just for the Bitcoiners, it's for Australia to start taking this seriously and to start to learn from us Bitcoiners why we're all so obsessed with this thing.
You want me to go? Just so based on your experience in Pacific Bitcoin, and what was the other one? Adopting Bitcoin El Salvador, is that what you said, Chris? So
yeah, that's right.
Who are the attendees? Are they absolutely miles down the rabbit hole Bitcoiners, or are they people who are just asking the question, what is this thing? Or is it a mixture of both? Is it easy to tell?
I personally think it was fairly easy to tell the makeup of the crowds at both of those two events. So Dylan only came to Pacific Bitcoin. I'm sure he would probably agree with this, but I saw a very similar thing at Adopting Bitcoin. It's also the second time I'd been to El Salvador to that conference, but they're very much targeted at Bitcoiners. Mm-hmm. Their content, the speakers, it's you've already been orange pilled generally. That's at least my opinion from as another attendee. The people hanging out there are typically Bitcoiners. Very few people I spoke to, or I can't even think of maybe any at all, were like, oh, I just thought I'd check it out because I'm curious, but I don't know much about it. I didn't have any of those conversations. The conversations were, as you would expect to have with another Bitcoiner who knows a thing or two. So I think that's where perhaps Bitcoin Alive differs a little bit. So it very much is a Bitcoin event, a Bitcoin only event. And it is, like I said earlier, an event to please ourselves, because we want to be able to hang out with other Bitcoiners, talk about Bitcoin with many of us in the same room. But we're very much making it accessible to everybody else. So whether that's no coiners, pre-coiners, even shit coiners, if they want to come learn about Bitcoin, which I think many of them should, they're very much welcome, and we'll have something for them. So it's a bit of a tricky challenge trying to cater to so many different types of people at different points of their own journeys. But what we found is at these Bitcoin conferences, the already orange pilled Bitcoiners or the Bitcoin maxis, they're just there to hang out with other Bitcoiners. We all already listen to the podcasts from Guy Swan, from Jeff Booth, all these people who are at these conferences delivering keynotes and on panels. So the content itself is almost like a sideshow to the conference. The conference is simply Bitcoiners hanging out with Bitcoiners talking about Bitcoin. So I'm under the impression that it's going to be pretty easy to convince the Aussie Bitcoiners to come to this thing, because we all just want to hang out with each other, right? And this is a great excuse to do that. And so whilst there still will definitely be content aimed at those types of Bitcoiners, because we want to have those conversations ourselves, we do want to also cater to those no-coiners or those noobs or those shitcoiners who still need to learn and understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin, because they're the next wave and we want to create more Bitcoiners. So it's a tricky little balance between, how do we cater to everyone? But I think we've learned a bunch from going to these conferences and seeing what works for certain crowds, that we can take the elements that we like and we can add the Aussie spin and also fill in the gaps where we think are important.
I listened to Wiz on Stefan the other day talking about bush bashers.
I have not listened to it yet, but it's on the playlist.
I need to listen to that.
He echoed basically what you were saying then, Chris, is that, I guess the slots and the speakers are really good, but the real value is when you're actually at lunch or you're having a beer and you're standing around talking to other like-minded people. So, yeah.
How does the venue accommodate for that? Will there be areas like, is there a bar or like, that kind of thing, or is there a social area or that kind of that people can just congregate and chat?
Yep, we've got so there's the circular main stage on the ground floor. That's where the panels and the chats will be. Behind that, we've got a bar area, and outside of that is a beer garden. So we've got quite a large space for just chatting and hanging out. So in the beer garden, we'll have a few food trucks so you can eat and you can buy beer if you want, or coffee or whatever. And on the upper floor, there's also another bar that we are looking at being like a VIP or speakers area as well. And that connects also down to the beer garden.
Got you. That's great. Yeah. I mean, it's because if somebody is looking in from the outside, they're just a lurker, and they're maybe thinking about some Bitcoin, maybe they have some Bitcoin, but they're on Twitter and they're looking at the conversations, but they're not really contributing yet. It's very easy to get the impression that there's a bunch of quite unapproachable people, right? We're quite toxic. We're intolerance, maybe not the right word, but like not suffering fools, right? But I think if you come with a genuine question, the level of help is wonderful. Yeah. And I know just from personal experience, going to just a few things that I've gone to, like when you actually sit down and talk to a stranger that happens to be a Bitcoiner, the conversation is easy. Like you can just chat to pretty much anyone, sit down at a table and chat to them, which is, I mean, it's very unusual in any walk of life, is it not? Is that what you've found yourselves, or?
Yeah, definitely. Like when I flew into LA the night before Pacific Bitcoin started, they had a toxic happy hour at a bar in Venice. And yeah, I just showed up to that, and there was, I don't know, 200 or 300 plebs there, and I was just by myself, and I just spent the night just chatting with everyone. Like it's very easy to talk about Bitcoin to other Bitcoiners, as you guys are well aware, I'm sure. Yeah. And then you see these like big Bitcoin names just walk in, and you can talk to them like one-to-one. It was a bit of a mind-blowing experience, just listen to these guys on the podcasts in my ears like all day, every day, and then I'm just suddenly at a bar, just having a beer with them.
Yeah.
What was Keynote's story when he met somebody?
Greg.
Oh yeah, fuck you, Greg.
Fuck you, Greg.
Yeah. So he like literally, obviously, when you're if you're hiding behind the NIM, and then people come up and introduce yourself, and finally, when you make the connection, it's literally his first words to this stranger was "fuck you, Greg." I mean, it is in a nice, possible, a nice way. So I'm just trying to get across to the point that people, anybody that's listening who's thinking they might be interested in this, but not quite sure what the crowd's going to be like. I think it could be. It's so far away from what you think in terms of how welcoming it can be.
Totally.
As long as you come with that open mind, right? That's all you need. Come with an open mind and a willingness to discuss.
Totally. Like you might see the Twitter discourse, and that's just like a cesspool of hatred or seeming like violence and I don't know. Twitter's not real life. That's just what happens on the internet. But when you go to these real life events, it's a completely different story. Everyone is open and just wants to chat and help people understand this technology. And this is a Bitcoin event. It's a Bitcoin only event. We're not going to be talking about crypto or other shitcoins. So people are going to know that coming in. I don't think we're going to be getting shitcoiners there trying to convince us that we're wrong. I hope that's not going to happen. I think they're going to be coming here to understand why we are Bitcoin only, rather than this like multi-coin world they seem to like.
Yeah, but the shitcoiners want the Bitcoin too, right? I mean, that's the ones who understand what it is. They might still be trading for the shitcoin or whatever, but they still want they still want the Bitcoin too. So I guess you might find you get some of them there who actually genuinely want to learn, because what they really do with their money is hold it in Bitcoin. Like they're trying to trade some other piece of crap to have more Bitcoin. So
well, especially people who got in.
I still don't think that's that's not the majority though. I still think a lot of people are like, for instance, I helped someone yesterday with some hardware wallet setup problems, and where my background lies with what I do with CoinStop is hardware wallets and security. So I helped someone with their hardware wallet, and as I was working through them, I asked like, hey, do you have any Bitcoin? Because we can just use that as a nice example of how everything works, and I can show you the ropes. And he didn't, and his comment was, oh, I think I've missed the boat there. Like, it's too expensive. The classic, I'm going to pick the next Bitcoin, the next Ripple that goes to, $10,000, or the next Dogecoin or Cardano, whatever the hell it is. And it's funny the psychology behind that, because, Bitcoin was at $80,000 at some point, and everyone wanted it. Everyone was lining up to get their slice of Bitcoin. And now the prices, I don't actually know exactly what the price is, and don't mention it because I'm not actually looking for the entirety of this year, and I've only got 15 days left, so don't spoil it for me. But yeah, we can talk about that later if you're interested. But so it's funny how no one wants it now when it's 4x or 5x less or whatever it is. The psychology and the mentality is we've still got a lot of work to do, and I guess that's one of the many reasons why we're putting on this event, is to help educate people about some of these misconceptions and lack of understandings on how Bitcoin works and where its value is derived, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and I think it's a perfect time as well. There's bound to be thousands of shitcoiners out there who have just gotten, been through rug pull after rug pull for the last year. And they're probably thinking, hey, maybe these Bitcoiners are onto something. Maybe I should start listening to them. So I think it's strike while the iron is hot, right? And I think it's perfect timing for them to come and realize and learn from us, why they're not too late, and they're quite early actually.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm hoping, that we'll get a good mixture of attendees and not just the hardcore Bitcoiners. Because I'm hoping they will just come anyway.
So one thing I think we probably should have started with, how did you guys, I guess, first meet?
Our names?
Yeah, the inception, or the idea for the conference. Where did it come from? How long ago? When did you start planning? We keep throwing 18 questions at you. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. We'll do our best to answer them all. I think we started working on this. It would have been probably 4-ish months ago, Dylan. I don't know if you remember more exactly, but it came from a conversation in a Telegram group, the Bitcoin Sydney Telegram group. There were a bunch of us talking about it. I don't remember the exact things we were saying at the time, but I imagine it was something about a conference it would be cool to have. And then eventually we kind of decided, well, let's just take the conversation into a different group, so we're not just clogging up this Bitcoin Sydney group with this nonsense discussion about a hypothetical conference that doesn't exist. So we invited everyone to come along, whoever wanted to have a chat and flesh out the idea. I think about a dozen of us came over.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about it. And then sort of eventually we decided, all right, well, if we're going to do this, we should probably jump on a call and talk about it more than just simply text. So we invited everyone, and of that, I think 5 of us showed up, Dylan, myself, Jess, and 2 others. And then from that phone call or that video call, we realized that probably the 3 of us were the ones that had the right things going to make it happen. And so that's kind of how the 3 of us formed the team. And from there, we decided, all right, if we're going to do this legit, how are we going to do it? And then, all the mammoth work started from there. We built a company, and then we started working on the branding. We looked at the dates. We put together a presentation on the options.
Yep. Lost ya.
Jump in, Dylan. Finish that
venues
sentence.
And all the blah, blah,
back.
blah, all that sort of stuff. So that, right? Maybe Dylan has some other key points to mention.
You just cut out a little bit there at the end, Chris, but I think you covered most of it anyway. Yeah, it was a fairly organic thing that arose out of like I might have mentioned earlier that everyone talks about how much they want there to be a conference, but no one was actually doing anything about it. So I figured, why don't I have a crack? That's like my personal kind of motivation is, this is something like I want to give back to this Bitcoin community that has taught me so much over the last, I guess, 3 or so years now. I would like to, say my thanks to the community and help build this thing.
I don't know, maybe this is maybe a superfluous question just because of what you just said, but I did notice with the one in Edinburgh that the guys who were organizing that took a bit of flack. The conference itself, I think, went off quite well, but they took a bit of flack because of their previous sort of shitcoinery stuff. But everybody has that, or a lot of people have that journey, right? Have you taken any flack at all, or had any questions from people like, who are you guys, or why should I be coming to your conference in terms of like in a personal way?
No.
I don't think so.
I mean, obviously everyone is likely to have questions about, who are these guys and what are their credentials on, putting together a conference. But I think we've been fairly open about it, and anyone who has had questions, we've answered and been very transparent about what we're doing. So, we welcome any of that. If you've got questions, send them over. And yeah, if you're unhappy with it, that's feedback we'll take on board. But
you could just say go fuck yourself.
Yeah, no, sorry, that wasn't intended in that way. I just more like
no, not you.
You're going to get all I'm thinking is you're going to get the questions, right? You're going to get the questions from people, or the people who maybe are thinking about attending and not sure if they should or not.
Yeah, I mean, and so they should. That's what Bitcoiners do, right? They're inquisitive. They question. It's don't trust, verify. So come chat to us. Come ask us the hard questions. Come vet us. I mean, anyone. Not that I'm exceptionally famous, but I've been around in a number of different communities. I've lived in Sydney. I've lived in Queensland. I've lived in Melbourne, and in all those places, I ran meetups. So I think people know I like getting involved with the community. I've presented at multiple conferences. I'm very active in the meetup communities around Australia. And I just enjoy it. I like putting back, like Dylan said, giving back to the people who helped me along the journey as well. So yeah, I mean, that, like I said earlier, I think judge us on our proof of work, right? So have a look at how we're conducting ourselves, the messaging we're saying, the way that we're delivering the things that we deliver. Come along to the event if you wish, and see for yourself if it's worth your time. And if it's not, we're sorry. But we certainly will try our damn best to make sure that we put on an event that we're happy with. And I think, my standards are pretty high. I've been to a lot of events. I've gone to a lot of meetups. So I know what I want personally out of them. That doesn't, of course, mean that that's what everyone else wants, but we're going to try our damn hardest to put on an event to please everyone. That's for sure.
Cool.
Well,
Yeah,
I've,
with the caveat that it's almost impossible to please all the Bitcoiners because we're quite a diverse bunch, right? But I'll be super stoked if we get all the Aussie Bitcoiners, and not just Aussie Bitcoiners, the wider region, New Zealand, the islands, anyone who wants to come, get us all in the same room together and say, we're here with, Bitcoin's a real thing that Australians should pay attention to and learn about. I'll be happy if everyone comes and has a great day. Anything more than that is a bonus.
It's already in my calendar. I've already told my wife, so I'm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's all right. You're ahead of me. Good man.
I'm going with or without your hats.
All right. Okay.
Daz is going, so it'll be me and Daz.
What
Maybe
about...
we'll add that to the ticketing area where it's like a little checkbox. Have you okayed this with your wife?
Yeah.
And it's like a terms and conditions box.
Yeah.
Is there anything like, are you looking for help on anything? Like, is there anything that, I don't know, you might need a designer or whatever it might be? Like, is there anything right now that that you're looking for help from the Bitcoin community? Because they're generally quite a helpful bunch when they think they can do something positive.
I mean, if someone could make more hours in the day, that'd be great. I mean, nothing like specific, we tackle things as sequentially in a way. And so far we've had it covered. We've been able to, we've got a designer on board who's helping us. I've done all of the website work so far. If there is a front-end designer or developer out there, maybe we could have help with that. I don't know. As we go forward, we might need help with bits and pieces, but generally, when we're talking to everyone, about speaking or sponsorships or everything, we are getting a lot of offers of help, and everyone is like putting us in contact with people who are like always really supportive and assuring us that if you want to speak to that person, we'll hook you up or whatever. So so far we've been pretty blown away with the response in that regard.
Awesome.
Okay.
And we certainly welcome more of that as well. So if people have ideas of things that they want to see at the event or speakers they would like to have, if they've got warm intros or just recommendations of people who we should reach out to, please get in touch and let us know. It is not easy running a Bitcoin only event because you stick to really strong principles and morals, and that means you do things the hard way because you can't take the quick and fast money from the shitcoin casinos and all that. And that really makes it very easy to get sponsorship money and put on an event and market it and all that sort of stuff. Yep. When you do Bitcoin only, it's a lot more narrow in who you can approach and who you can work with. So all of the help that we get from the community and all of our friends, whether it be on Twitter and real life through other contacts, is very much appreciated. So please do continue reaching out, and any support is very much, we're very grateful for it.
Well, if you can get Jeff Booth, hats will be waiting first in line.
I'll be lubed.
He'll be lubed up.
I'm a big fan. I got a little listener sitting on my shoulder going, would you just ask them how much it's going to cost? Do you know that yet? Do you know that yet? Or is that something is that going to come out in time? Where are we with that?
We don't know exactly where it's going to be. We've got a range, and we're planning on releasing pre-sale tickets in January. Cool. Chris, I'm not sure that we should disclose that range right now.
No.
Like, I'm the time scale is great. If you're able to sort of give people you're thinking of letting people know sometime in January in terms of pre-sale, that gives them an idea.
Ideally sooner. There are a few things that are not within our control, and a few pieces of the puzzle have to fall into place before we can get into control. So we're working through those problems to hopefully get pre-sale tickets or tickets available before Christmas, but we've also only got 10 days. So I don't know if that's going to necessarily be possible, but definitely, like, we've penciled in January as the announcement for tickets. tickets. If we can bring that forward, we certainly will. But yeah, like we're trying to keep this affordable, but given what I just said previously about not being able to take anyone's check from any business because we have to stick to our morals and we want to stick to our morals, that does make it a lot harder to find that funding. So yeah, I want to try and make it affordable, but we also have to make sure that we can pay for this thing and we don't go bankrupt so we can do it again next year. I mean, if the perfect world, or a good world at least, would be that we put on a great event, everyone has a good time, and we don't lose any money. That would be a fantastic result. Anything above that, if we make a few coins, then great. But this is not the motivation for Bitcoin Alive. The motivation for Bitcoin Alive is to put on a really awesome conference, and so everyone has a great time.
But you're already thinking maybe, hopefully, 2024, 2025, this could be an annual event.
That's definitely the intention. Fingers crossed everything goes well for us in this first one. If everyone has a great time and if we get feedback that people want to come to the next one in 2024, then yeah,
certainly a cause worthy of supporting, I think, for Bitcoin maxis.
Oh, totally.
Let's not count our chickens before they hatch. So let's get through this one and then take it from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to have this snowball into an annual thing.
How hard is this to organize when you've got your fiat life, families, partners, all that kind of stuff? Like, you guys, are you sleeping?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's not super difficult. I think it will get much more intense as we get closer. So right now it's manageable. Probably like Chris mentioned, we've been working on this for quite a few months already. So we've already built the website and got the design sorted, and we've been speaking to everyone we want to participate in the event for ages, and we've got a lot of people locked in already. We're already speaking to sponsors. Jess has all the event management side of things under control. AV, all of that stuff, staff, security, tickets, all of that. It's not going to be an issue. But having said that, there's still 1,000 balls in the air that we got to juggle.
I'm impressed that you guys are.
It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, ever even doing this. It's amazing.
It's great. Well, it's needed. It's needed. Well, it's not just needed here though. It's needed everywhere. So the fact that we just need to add one to the circuit, I guess, and fair play to you guys for taking it on.
It's like the Grand Slams, like tennis. You got the Australian Open, you got Wimbledon. This is our Australian Open.
All right, Djokovic, he going to be allowed to come, or
I will allow him to come. Yeah, there'll be no KYC or checking any sort of certificates or anything like that. People are none of that stuff. You're welcome to come.
Excellent.
That's a common question from the internationals that we're speaking to, and I'm glad to. Yeah, glad to be able to say that none of that, nothing. You can just walk into the country.
Yeah,
with your passport.
Yeah, no, excellent. Let's line up. Chris, you don't look at the price. You haven't looked at the price for 350 days. How is that going?
Yeah, it's been quite the challenge. So I put out this call to arms on my Twitter just before the turn of the year, late last year. And, basically said, does anyone want to challenge me into seeing how long we can not look at the price for? And no one did, but that's just goes to show that no one knows who I am and I'm not famous in any regards. So I'm not surprised. But it also is a difficult challenge. I think people are very kind of programmed to, smash that refresh on their portfolio tracking app or on whatever website they use to check the price. I've been there and you get very obsessed with it, almost like refreshing every hour, like as if something happens, your life's going to ultimately change. And I started kind of moving away from that line of thinking and basically dollar cost averaging and using that kind of methodology when it came to Bitcoin. So I'm not a trader. I'm not interested in trading. I find it ridiculous. I think it's too time consuming, too stressful. So for me, dollar cost averaging is perfect. I can just set up my automation app and not have to think about it, because what happens today, tomorrow, next week, next month, even next year is ultimately just noise in the long-term play of what's happening here. So, like we were saying, I'm going to die on this hill, right? So if Bitcoin fails next year, then I go down with the ship. But if it goes to where we think it may go, the financial side of things will just take care of itself. So I'm looking more at the Satoshi and the Bitcoin metric versus looking at the fiat equivalent of that Bitcoin. So for me, I want more sats, and I'll do anything I can to get more sats, whether that's earn, mine, buy. I just want more of it because the fiat side of things, I mean, if anything, the fiat side of things will be so irrelevant in the future that no one will even bother to look at that because it's going to zero, right? So for me, it's denomination in Satoshis, not denomination in dollars. So it was easy. It was easy for me to not have to look at the price. There's been no desire whatsoever. I think there's been like two, I don't want to call them slip ups, but two kind of events where I learnt the price because someone spoiled the fun. One was I was planning to do a monthly article talking about the previous month and sort of highlighting my experience through it. After I did the first month, someone just commented on it and said like, hey, here's the price. I was like, all right, well, I can't trust anyone. Everyone's an idiot. So I won't be doing that next month. And the other time was actually a friend who I think was perhaps making a joke and shared the price. And so I made sure to let them know that that was not cool and don't do that again. Other than that, like friends. No, we're still friends, still good, very good friends, very good Bitcoiner, very smart Bitcoiner. But yeah, I've learned to kind of, you think like, how can you not come across it? And, when I see sort of charts or anything of that nature on Twitter, I quickly scroll past it. So I'm not gathering any of the key metrics. I'm like, oh, it's a chart, quickly go down. I don't get any number. Obviously, I know it's gone down. I'm not an idiot. I see the sentiment. I see all the events happen. Of course, everything's going downwards. But in terms of like a dollar value, like if you ask me right now, I could take a guess and I might be close. I might just be coincidentally close, but I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Take a guess.
In AUD or USD?
AUD.
AUD. Okay. Probably like 30-ish, 35, between 30 and 35, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to tell you, but
I'm not going to tell you either.
No, don't.
I'm just trying to have a plain face.
Yeah.
It's
But either way, I'm buying today, I'm buying tomorrow, I'm buying the following day, regardless of what the price does.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like if you I think it's possible. I can't claim to have get anywhere close to that yet. I'd like to, but once you realize that regardless of whether the price is going up or down, it's not going to change your behavior. Yeah. It becomes kind of irrelevant. I mean, the purchasing power side of it is still relevant and hopefully will be, in the future, but really, it's not going to all of a sudden make you a trader or make you a seller or make you a whatever if you see, so it doesn't really matter. So, yeah. But still fair play. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, at these levels, it's like so cheap anyway. It doesn't really matter what the price is. It's just cheap, like compared to, 1 year ago or whatever, it's cheap, and compared to sometime in the future, it's also cheap.
Yeah,
hopefully. But like from my perspective, I'm totally on board with the DCA mantra, but I'm still a bit of a fiend for the smash buy.
Yeah.
So like when the price dumps, you hear about it, and then I know what the price is, and then I buy some. So
I haven't smash bought for a good while.
Is that right?
I'm really, really comfortable just DCAing at the moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get the thing going, oh man, like I haven't got the powder, but
when you see the price and you're like, oh, I wish I could, but but
and I could, but I'm just like, no, I'm DCAing. It's all.
Do you know what it does do when you do the DCA thing? It frees up a lot of time. Stop having to waste your time doing all that
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I have basically automated that away from myself. You know, it goes through 5 days a week and I just forget about it.
Yeah.
I do still get the notification through to say that my DCA went through. So that's that's my dopamine hit for the day, and I just move on, you know. It's nice. Guys, what have we
Yeah,
not
I get the emails too. It's like, hey, you've successfully DCA'd.
Yeah, it's great, right? Oh, we lost him.
No, he DC dead. Oh,
Ah,
Dylan. No,
Dylan,
Dylan's there. Dylan's there.
Yeah, I'm still here. Chris seems to have frozen a little bit.
Dylan,
But,
is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to
cool.
get
Delete.
out there?
See that email?
We're back.
Oh,
You there, Chris?
Oh, sorry,
Go-
gents. Bad internet.
Go back a minute and replay what you just said if you can. You dropped out there.
Oh, I don't even think it was anything very important. I think it was just more that, you know, I was confirming I get those same notifications, but I don't bother looking at what actually happened. It just says like, hey, subject title, you successfully dollar cost average. Cool. Delete. See you again tomorrow.
That's good, isn't it? It's good. My thing when you just click out there, mate, was just, is there anything that we've not covered that you'd like to just get out there in front of the plebs for we want them to know?
Oh gosh.
I mean, conference specifically, but you know, anything, you know, shoe sizes, that doesn't matter.
was that a ghost that just walked past you then, Chris?
Nah, that was the Bitcoiner lady. They do exist.
Yeah. And they're all beautiful too.
Totally.
So nothing you want to talk about or add to the whole Bitcoin Live, Roddy?
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested, you can check us out on Twitter at Bitcoin Alive or our website, bitcoinalive.io. Yeah, we'll have tickets on sale very soon and speaker announcements very soon. And then it's game on, and hope to see everybody in April.
You can pre-register for the tickets. So you can jump to our website and right down the bottom, there'll be like a little email form where you can just register your interest. And I would recommend, if you're seriously interested in attending, that you put yourself on this list, because they will be the cheapest tickets available. Anyone on that pre-sale list that is building quite nicely will get first dibs at the cheapest tickets that we will ever release for Bitcoin Live. So little hack there. If you're definitely keen on attending, that's going to be your best bet. And yeah, hopefully they're available soon. We're just working through the motions and getting everything in order, but either before Christmas, if we're lucky, if not, probably sometime in January.
Cool. And I'll make sure I print up my VIP.
Your medal.
Yes.
My little lanyard.
Your lanyard, yeah.
If you go to that effort, I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually say no.
Yeah. I think we should mention
thought of that now. We should thought of it.
There will be a few satellite events around the weekend as well. So we've got Bitcoin Alive on the Saturday. It will be a full day event from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. And we are planning to also have this seamlessly transition into a party as well during the night. But there will also be a number of satellite events that are put on by Bitcoin Sydney community and the general Bitcoin Australia community. So we'll have some smaller events on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday as well. So if you're thinking of coming, why not come for a few days either side and get the full experience?
Yeah, awesome.
And then that brings
the thinking
hopefully brings
with
internationals as well. The 3 or 4 days, 3 or 4 days in Australia would be nicer than just a day in and day out, right?
Yeah,
exactly right. And so that was our rationale for doing this, is like, how do we convince these people to jump on a plane and come 24 hours to the other side of the world? Well, let's actually package in a few side events on either side of the main attraction, so that they get a few different experiences. So we're talking to a few people, and obviously our focus is very much Bitcoin Alive, but we want to try provide as much value add for all of the community. So having that local Bitcoin Sydney meetup will kind of give you one experience, and then you've got the Bitcoin Alive event, which is the big, large scale conference. And then we're toying up with some sort of so funny you mentioned at the start of the chat, taking pictures and sending people like a photo of Coogee or Bondi. So we actually made that joke yesterday, speaking with someone else from the Australian Bitcoin community. So we've been talking to, I don't know if we can say this, but maybe this will also kick in some of the FOMO, but we've been talking to like a bunch of internationals, and one of them's been Greg Foss. So we actually met Greg overseas, and he's pretty strongly interested in coming. So we really do hope that we can get him across the line. But someone mentioned he was a surfer, and he's got a bunch of Aussie friends as well. So there's like a good support narrative to getting Greg to come over. But yeah, we're starting to think that maybe we should just start sending him like the swell report and some photos of like Bondi Beach to like get him excited to come, surfing in Australia, because it's one of the things that everyone kind of looks at us for is our amazing beaches and surf.
Yeah.
And so
if you've not surfed in Australia, you're not a surfer.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, hoping we can get a few of those guys to come across for multiple reasons, whether it's Bitcoin Alive or some of these side events or some of the culture, and it's a beautiful country, and a lot of the feedback we got from the people we met overseas was like, I'd love to come to Australia. It's always been on the list, but it's just like so far and so expensive, and like I need a really strong reason to come here. So we're hoping Bitcoin Alive and this whole sort of 4, 5, 6 day experience will be a really valid reason for some of these internationals to come visit.
And also tax deductible for anybody running a Bitcoin business.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Everything's a taxable event, right?
Exactly.
Well, it sounds like you guys are absolutely all over this. So yeah, it's super exciting.
I'm glad it sounds like that.
Well, it does.
It sounds good, guys. Yeah, I mean, we'll be there.
Yeah.
So there's
true?
Yeah,
I was
hey,
there we go.
But I hope that doesn't put too many people off. Guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time. And best of luck. I mean, I know it's going to be a lot of hard work, but best of luck. I'm sure it's going to be a big success.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and I'm looking forward to a good event in April.
Awesome.